Houston, we have a problem. Hey, everybody, welcome to a low inventory, high buyer demand environment in which getting your buyer's offers accepted is not going to be easy. So, for most of you, I have been working with many agents around the Bay Area of California. And over the last 5 years, it has been constantly a low inventory, high buyer demand environment in which my coaching clients have been dealing with that they're one of 5, one of 10 offers, and they were doing everything that they could to get their buyer's offer accepted in that competitive environment. So for most of you around the country, you're probably experiencing that right now, maybe for the first time. So let me share with you some of the best practices that I've been working with all of my great clients in these really competitive environments, as well as some of the stuff that I had to use really in kind of 2017. I think it was 16 and 17. I had to use a bunch of that stuff in San Diego. And then now it's back around again. And here we go. So let's get to it. First of all, if you are having this conversation with your buyer for the first time at the writing an offer or after you've already written an offer, it's already too late. So let's take a couple steps back on what we need to do to educate our buyers so we can set expectations in advance. So one of the things that we need to get really good at today is this conversation about the market and about supply and demand, buyer's market, seller's market, and what that means to a buyer and kind of what the mindset now of a seller is, how the listing agent is going to market and play the game, and then how we, the buyer's agent, and you, the buyer, here's some of the things that we need to do together to be able to win in this environment. So please don't have this conversation too late. Start this early. Let's make sure that you're having a conversation and letting them know, look, here are the things that I need from you to be able to represent you powerfully in a competitive environment. I need not pre-qual, I need not just pre-approval. If I can get an underwritten loan, that underwritten loan can compete against cash. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Let's make sure you and I coordinate with your loan officer, because if we lose your dream home because someone was just a little farther along with their financing and they were a safer bet for the listing agent and the seller, you're going to be really upset that we didn't push your lender along and you didn't give me, arm me, with enough of that documentation that I can present to you powerfully to the listing agent. Notice some of the language I'm using here, okay? So, plus I want a buyer letter if that's appropriate, right? A letter from you to the buyer that I can share with the listing agent to the seller, okay? Some other strategy around this. We need to make sure that in a low inventory environment, low inventory, high buyer demand, that you and I are in good communication and we are not booking an appointment to see the property after the first weekend. We need to get in there early. I need to communicate with the listing agent, start building my relationship with the listing agent, asking great questions and starting to build that relationship there. And if you, my client, buyer client, if there was an open house post or pre or post COVID, right? Go over there, schmooze that listing agent on our behalf together so that they have a good memory of who you are. These are some just strategies, tactics, okay? A couple other things. Let's make sure you and I are showing them, if we can have evidence, here's list to sold ratios. List to sold. Let me show you some evidence. I'm not the one telling you that you should write an offer at full price. I'm not the one telling you you're probably going to be over list price. Let me show you the evidence. Here's a similar property. Look at the list price, look at the sold price, look at the days on market. If we can do that, some of the markets that have been really aggressive, over the last couple of years. It's easy to pull those comps. Some of you, it's not that easy to do. So you're going to have to maybe share some anecdotal. Hey, at my office right now, we were just talking, there's, 5 listings that we as a brokerage put on the market. On average, in the last 7 days, we're seeing 5 offers per property that we're putting on the market as a group. Therefore, I need you and I to have an expectation that most likely we're not going to be writing a low offer. We're not going to start from a position of negotiation. Strategically, we're probably going to need to come in strong to kind of put a good foot forward, and then let me do some more negotiation with the listing agent. That I will give you the feedback from the listing agent on what they need to see from us. So, and then we need to ask, hey, are you on the same page? This is no longer a negotiation really strategy to get a good deal. This is really a negotiation strategy to win the property against the competition and not overpay. My job as your buyer's agent is to make sure that you don't overpay, and to make sure that I'm consulting and guiding you so that you don't lose your dream home over $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. That's really, $10 a month, $30 a month. Okay. Now, a couple strategies in negotiation. Make sure agents, you are doing a good job with communicating with the listing agent. Make sure you are talking to your buyer about negotiation options. Okay. We want terms from the list agent that we can share and start speaking to our buyers and let them know that there are very specific terms. If you have flexibility and you can provide some term flexibility, that sometimes is greater than or equal to another $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. So start that conversation early in the terms conversation. In terms of time frames of the contract, right? Make sure that you are having upfront conversations. Review the contract early with your buyers and say, hey, here's how these contract works. Higher earnest money deposit if you can do that, right? Shorter inspection time frames. If you and I can be on the same page, if we can make a decision on who our inspector is going to be now, early in advance, build that relationship. Then when we get an offer accepted, we can get that inspector in there quickly. I can get you the seller's disclosures. We will review all that stuff. We'll review any HOA documents, anything that we need to see. We'll get in there, we'll inspect the property, and we'll do that quickly. Now, Mr. Buyer, may I explain to you why that's attractive to a list agent, to a seller? This is another great point. Please explain to a buyer what's attractive to the sellers and to the list agent and why that is. I think when I explain to a buyer and I let them know, hey, just so you know, buyers, based on California, you can cancel the contract at any time up to 21 days after they've accepted your offer. You can bounce for like almost no reason and get your money back. You have no recourse. The list agent and the seller, if they accept your offer, they're on the hook. They have to follow through. So if I don't present you as a buyer, as someone who is ready to go, who's got all their ducks in order, present you in a powerful way, and they think that there's some hesitation in you buying their house, they're not going to accept your offer over another one because there's too much risk on their part. Does that make sense? Now, let's review what that looks like for you to demonstrate that you are someone who's committed, that you and I are someone who can act fast and move quickly and put low risk on the list agent and on the seller. And sometimes that is shortening some of the contingency timeframes. That's where we are showing an underwritten loan, not just pre-qual. So I think sometimes explaining that to the buyer so they understand what's attractive to the seller, so that you and I can present a great buyer, a great offer with all the documentation, the proof of funds, the underwritten. We can get the lender to call that list agent and to explain exactly where they're at, why they feel that this buyer is 100% qualified and can handle this. And so that that listing agent can now speak right eloquently and powerfully to the seller to say, hey, that agent's doing a great job, that buyer's fully ready. So you can see that, hey, welcome to the party, you guys. This is what in the Bay Area, this is what we've been dealing with for 5 years nonstop. Okay, so for all of you, my friends out there in the country, you got to do a way better job of educating these buyers in advance and setting them up for success and making sure they understand this game. Where you might have been pretty loosey-goosey about that before, no longer the case. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this short video on how to strategically get more offers into contract. I promise you, if you're loosey-goosey about what you're doing with these buyers and you say to me, well, they needed to lose 1 or 2 or 3 before they started to listen to my advice, I don't want to hear that. Now, have I had that? Yes. Where one time, this, like one of the contracts, they kind of my buyers kind of aggressively wanted to negotiate. It was a tough, the seller was a nightmare. But on the second round, right, they basically said, Patrick, you tell us what to do and we'll do it. And they let me do what I needed to do, and I got them a killer deal with great terms, and it worked out. But I did a ton of education, ton of explanation, over communicated with them. I earned that trust, that advisor position. That's what we need to do for all of you. Okay, we got a lot of hustle. Make sure you watch my other video of how to find off-market opportunities in this environment, how to leverage the buyer to get more listing opportunities or to get them closed. You know, today is July of 2020. If you, my friends, my coaching clients, if you are not putting together an off-market deal with one of your buyers between now and the end of the year, you're basically slacking. You ain't trying. Okay, if you're not getting a listing from one of your buyers, you're slacking. You're not trying. So let's get after this. I look forward to helping you. Have a great day.